Welcome to the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast.
Hello, everybody. This is Holloway of Skye from What's Happening in Birmingham. I am doing something completely different and new for the month of April. I am doing Zoom interviews, and none of the first person to do it with is Miss Alice Gordon Holloway of Skye Connect Incorporated.
Hi, Jarvis.
Great, Alice. Thank you for being the first person on my Zoom interviews this month.
Well, I'm happy to be the tester. So I know we're gonna work some things out, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So continuing the series on the coronavirus pandemic and how it's affecting Birmingham, I wanted to bring a good friend on who has some experience handling crisis in her present career and her past, work experience. So, Alice, what was your first thoughts when this was all unfolding?
Well, Jarvis, I actually have a couple of roles. I'll just tell you that I definitely am a CEO of Skye Connect Incorporated, located here in Alabama. And actually work in this area. And I'm actually a researcher studying a lot about organizations and how organizations function in my academic world. And I'm really, I've been watching this crisis unfold, and I am actually amazed at what I'm seeing. It has been a really troubling experience for a lot of people, and there are a number of people who have been hurt, who have been, basically businesses that probably will not come back, lives that have been lost, and just a really a traumatic experience for many people who are experiencing this critical issue right now. So yeah, I mean, I think like all of us, Jarvis, nobody expected to have what's happening now. I figured this quote from Mike Tyson is pretty appropriate when he was about to fight Evander Holyfield, or in that process, and he was saying everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And so I think what happened is that we as business people and business professionals, and also just the community at large, have basically received that punch in the mouth. And now we have to actually manage this situation that we're currently dealt with in a lot of different ways. So yeah, my role is in this conversation is talk about the critical crisis, but I think putting it all into perspective that no one expected to be punched the way we're punched at this point right now.
So let me ask you this. So how different is this? Because, most time when you've seen crisis or natural disasters, you can feel it, touch it, and see it. But I guess in some way we are still seeing the effects because people are, getting sick and dying from this. So what was your thoughts about this particular crisis as it was kind of unfolding and going?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Jarvis. And realistically, it follows the path of some of the critical crises that I've experienced before. The 3 U's is what I call it, that this crisis has followed. Number 1, it's very unpredictable. Number 2, it was certainly unexpected. And number 3, it was uncomfortable. So those 3 U's of a critical crisis is what this crisis has followed. It followed in the path of those 3 U's. It's very unpredictable, it's unexpected, and it was uncomfortable, and continues to be that way right now. And so I think right now we're seeing it follow the course in that regard. Now, of course, we've learned a lot since the middle of March, and now it's the beginning of April. So we've learned a lot as a country and as a climate, but I still think that there's continue to be some things that are evolving.
So sitting back, like you said, going off of your academic and research experience, what are some things, like if we had a look from it, retrospective, this was all done, going back, what are some things you feel that, people in leadership, whether in government, could have done, not to avoid the crisis, but how to handle it as it unfolded?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me go back and give a little bit of historical perspective, and then I'll come full scale at some of the common miscues that we may have had, okay? That in 1993, my first experience in being exposed to a crisis was when the Amtrak train derailed down in Mobile Bay. There were 47 people who lost their lives and over 100 people who were injured in a number of ways. I worked in the newsroom at that time, and I could not even fathom the thought that the word crisis was what was happening. We just knew it was a disaster. It was a disaster. And that really shaped a lot of my thought process of how this has come to be and how we handle it going forward. What happens tomorrow after the crisis occurs? Then since that time, I've worked in different organizations that actually had other issues happening. We've had explosions, we've had electrocutions, we've had issues with people who had other impact based on the company. Everything from increasing in pricing for an organization, leadership changes, just all sorts of things, Jarvis. And really, my world has incorporated learning how to manage those and helping to advise those companies of what to do now. So let me just get to some information here. I call them the common miscues that if we had taken this a little bit more of a different perspective, maybe early on, and even right now, things may have been a little bit different, but who's to say what could happen? I think no one expected this, and it's still something that's very challenging for us to manage.
Mm-hmm.
But number one, I think we have to be sure that one of the cues that we miss oftentimes is the signs and the trends that we're seeing. So a common miscue is that we just didn't read the tea leaves. We just didn't pay attention to what was going on. We thought it was going to be okay. And, we see now what is happening from a business standpoint. Number two, you always think you have time. Oh, I'll get to that. There'll be no problem. And what happens is that time is not our friend when we're in a crisis or before a crisis or right now. Time is not our friend. Number three, you second guess yourself. As a leader, leaders are paid to make decisions. Leaders are paid to be sure that they are actually leading the people and leading their team and their organization. But sometimes leaders just need other people who are putting information into them to be able to make solid decisions. So I think number three could be that we're second guessing ourselves. We thought we saw something, but we really wasn't quite sure if it was what we thought we saw. And so I think that can be an issue that's a miscue for us. And number four, we fail to act quickly. And so the last one is focusing on just whether or not, let's just put some things in place and go with our instinct. Some people go with their gut and their gut leads them in the right place. Some people go with their guts and they're a little too soon on making changes. But I think that as a leader, we have to look at all these things and have more of a reality check about what's happening now and ask those really critical questions as well and surround ourselves with people who can really tell you, I don't feel right about this. I really think we should do X. And you have ability to take advice and decide from yourself and based on what you've learned, how best to make a decision from that point on. So that's how I think leaders can be impacted by this and help make some different decisions maybe next time around.
All right, one thing I like what you said earlier about external factors. A lot of times with business owners, you get so consumed with day-to-day what's going on with your business that you're not thinking about how, if they're not my direct competitor or not around with my, I guess around my yard, I guess it's so many words, that you're not worried about it.
Right.
And this was going on, like you said, way back in November and December. This is all the way in China. Nothing going on in America. Everybody's walking around, everybody's fine. So you get that shock like 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden, like, okay, why do I have to shut my business down? What's essential and what's non-essential?
Well, I do think that that the decisions that's being made by some of the senior administration and leaders, I don't want to get into politics, but I think some of the decisions that's being made to social distance ourselves and use a forum like we're using for this interview is a good thing. I think that we're showing that that's a good thing, but I think from a business standpoint, no one expected businesses to totally shut down. Why this crisis is so different, Jarvis, is that it just doesn't happen in our hometown, in our home state, or in our home region. It's around the world. And so it's crippling us around the world, not just simply here. So we can't simply sit back and say, woe is me. We have to look at woe is us. And that's what's happening, I think, in this crisis that's making it a lot different, from a pandemic standpoint versus just a simple isolated event.
Okay. Well, let's kind of think forward, as the weeks kind of unveil. What you feel could be done now, going forward, kind of like if you're in that seat right now, or you're, working in that arena somewhat.
Well, I actually have 6 different tips I want to let your viewers know about. And so number one, you need to identify right now a crisis response team at your organization.
Yeah, that's a question I really want to ask, like business-wise, like what businesses can do now.
Yeah. And so that what you want me to cover right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So number one, so these are my 6 tips. Number one, you want to develop a crisis response team. That could simply be your mother and your cousin and you, if you run a small business. But it needs to be people who can make decisions in your business or make decisions on a quick fly, if you will, when something were to happen, or at least know some of your processes to know how to be assistance to you when that time comes. Number two, you want to cross train your employees or cross train your contractors so they can help you during this time, because business ownership, and you know this, Jarvis, can be very lonely at the top. You making all the decisions and things are happening, and you realize, oh, I'm the only one that knows how to do this. So you want to cross train your employees or your contractors to be able to do several things to be helpful when the time comes. Number three, review your technology access points, your technology portals, and your technology passwords. If you can have those things, the portal, the technology passwords, and the access points, how do you get into your system? That was going to save you a good bit, because what happens is this: you actually have a computer, and for example, I'm around 3 computers right now. But the way it's set up is that one is my primary computer where all of my passwords are stored, or at least are connected to my computer. And then the other computers, if someone has to get on and log on, you have to find a password for them because it's a different IP address. And the third computer in the back probably hadn't been logged on in a few months, for example. And of course, it has to be restarted with new patches and new codes and being up to date. And so now you're in a quandary, because none of your systems are able to talk to each other, or no one's able to do anything but you. That's really, really challenging. So make sure you have a kind of a technology assessment beforehand to see where all those pieces are, and be sure you keep a listing of those, because they change. We change those things. Number four, you want to review your operational plan. How do you get back to normal? Or before you even do that, what is normal? How do you do what you do? If you have a point of purchase system, for example, at your restaurant, how is it connected in case the power goes out, for example? Or if you have a point of purchase system in your business and you are using, say, Intuit or something like that, or FreshBooks or one of the other systems, how do you get into that? If something were to happen, you have to pay someone quickly. Or do you have other systems in place right now? That's really important. Number five, you want to speak in terms of if and when, not just assuming. So speak in terms of, if this happens, when this happens, here's what we'll do. And take off the cover and put on the reality check, because this is when it gets real. And right now it's real, Jarvis. These people are having issues. We all are sympathetic to businesses like our businesses. And right now people are suffering. So this is a very challenging time. It's a very serious time, and we don't know what's going to happen. Businesses are going to come back after this or not. We just pray that they do. And the last piece I want to cover in terms of businesses' pandemic preparation going forward is to manage your relationships now with your stakeholders. Be sure they know about what your business offers. Find a way to connect with them outside of maybe office visits. So that means have cell phones available, have their email addresses that may not be attached to their work address in case they can't get back into their work address. Have a combination of ways to connect with your stakeholders and your employees and your clients, to be sure you can keep some kind of connectivity with those individuals, because that's how you're going to be successful, is staying in contact. So those are my 6 tips for pandemic preparation for small businesses.
Okay. Well, if they would like to get in contact with you, what's the best way to?
Well, one of the best ways is preferably just go to my website, and I'll take a look at Skye Connect, SKYECONNECT.com. Or you can always just kind of leave a message via that way. And you can also connect with me also too on Facebook, LinkedIn, and then of course you can get us on Instagram. But I want to leave you with one quote, Jarvis, that Winston Churchill communicated. And this is kind of involving, I think, that as we think about organizations and entities and businesses in a full-blown crisis that we're in, that's crippling so many people, we have to learn a few things. What Winston Churchill said: you can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else. So now we've tried everything else. And so now let's put some things in place so we can overcome this crisis and this pandemic and get back onto life after COVID-19. So thank you for having me this afternoon. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak on this important topic.
Well, thank you for coming on. And I got a feeling that, I guess you agree, that things will never be the same, but it's like we got a new normal, and we kind of adjust to it. And, like you said, one thing about a crisis, you can never avoid it, but you always got to somewhat plan for it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, Jarvis. We don't wake up saying, oh, I'm going to handle a crisis today. Nobody does that. But unfortunately, as a business leader and someone who understands the psychology a bit about what goes behind the scenes, we have to think about this. And I think now we are forced to, and we have to be able to regather ourselves after this happens and move forward from this point on.
All right, well, Alice, thank you again, and looking forward to seeing you again, and maybe hop on another Zoom again real soon to kind of, reflect, because I know we ain't out of the woods yet with this. It's going to be a while.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much, Jarvis. Have a great day, and I support you on what's happening in Birmingham. Thank you for what you're doing for the community. It's a very valuable service to keep this information out there around everybody, and to support you financially as well to keep your business going too.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for your support as well. It's I just feel like this is what's happening, but just want to tell people more of the story and how we all coping, because we are gonna get out of this together. So thank you, Alice, and thank you all for watching. And please check out more videos and interviews on what'shappenedbirmingham.com, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank y'all again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for watching the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast. Please check out our website, app, or subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest videos today.